Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Discovery Day of the month. My name is Rodrigo Caballero, and on behalf of our Chancellor, David Stoffmacher, we want to welcome you to tonight's Discovery Day, How the Brain Works, a guide to optimize your stress, focus, and productivity. So before we start, I would like to welcome you all. Please share us and let us know where are you joining us from. Thank you, everyone here on Zoom and everyone on our Facebook broadcast as well. Welcome everyone. If you wanna come over to Zoom, you're more than welcome. If not, then we will be more than happy to read you also there. So I see Rogelio and Elias from the Philippines. So thank you so much for being with us. So everyone, you're way more than welcome to keep interacting in the chat box that we are gonna be reading you. So before we start, we want to thank you all again for being with us. We're gonna be learning a lot today. In like the title said, we're gonna be talking about how does the brain works, and I'm gonna be introducing our speaker in just a couple of minutes. But before that, just to state just how this is gonna work today. We are gonna be joined by Lorena Velasquez. You probably can see her already, and I'm gonna introduce her properly in just 1 minute. Hi, Lorena. But before we start, remember that you're gonna have the chat available for you throughout the whole event here in Zoom, and we're also gonna be greeting you guys on Facebook that are watching us as well. And also by the end of the event, we are gonna be leaving a form for you guys to leave your information. We're going to be sending you later your certificate because we're going to be granting you a digital participation certificate so you guys can have it as well via email, and it's going to be absolutely free. So I think that's everything I have to share with you before we start. We're very, very excited. And for that, I'm going to introduce you to our speaker as she deserves. She's Lorena Velasquez. She's a psychobiologist and mindfulness coach. She has an MS in psychobiology and cognitive neurology. She's the first Latina mindfulness life coach, and she's an expert in creating profitable and scalable online businesses. She also has a master's degree in psychobiology. Well, that I already mentioned it, and cognitive neurology. And also at 24, she sold everything and went to South America for 6 months volunteering. And upon her return, she decided to co-found a virtual business that helped women's mental stability. So we are very, very excited to have you, Lorena. Let me pin you and add you to the spotlight. Welcome back, Lorena. How are you doing?
Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for the introduction. It's always so nice to hear all of that.
No, it's always good to have you. Thank you for accepting our invitation back. So we are very, very excited to see what you have prepared for us. So the floor is absolutely yours.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you and welcome to everyone. Um, I've lost my voice a little bit. I don't know who here is a fan of Taylor Swift, but I went to her concert 2 days ago and my voice is still in recovery. So excuse me for that. But send me from 1 to 5. How are you feeling today? 5 being awesome, 1 being not great at all, and the in-betweens. I want to see in the chat. Evening from Indonesia. Hi, hi. I really want to go see Indonesia. I'm hoping I can go this year. 3, a little tired. Okay. Well, hopefully after this information, you'll get some insights. I will help you with that. 4, okay, amazing. Welcome in. Let's see. I'm gonna keep the chat open so I can keep on checking on you guys. And you guys can keep on sending the questions as we go. I'll most likely answer all of the questions at the end. The team at Utel is always extremely helpful with that. But until then, if there's something that I can answer in between, I will. If not, we'll definitely have time for that at the end. I see 3s and 4s. Okay, awesome. Not 1s, which would be totally okay if there's a 1. But the only reason why I'm asking you this is because I want you to be able to assess how you're feeling, what you need, perhaps. And what's a day like for you today? Because it will change from day to day. That is very common. It is very normal. And the step for anything in life when we want to change something, whether that is neurologically, or even when we're speaking about abundance, or if you want to go as far as mastering the art of manifesting things, clarity will always be the first step. So seeing that you guys are gaining some clarity before we begin, that was my whole purpose before starting this. So now that we have some clarity, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Let me know in the chat, please, if you can see my screen. And let me keep the chat on the side. Wonderful. Okay, great. So we have my screen. Now I'm gonna guide you through this. So the first thing I want you to know is the topic, even though and the first two slides will be a little repetitive just because I have the topic again and then I have a little introduction, which I can make it extremely quick. But as a reminder, today we're gonna learn how the brain works, and I'm essentially gonna give you a guide to optimize your stress, focus, and productivity. So at the very beginning, you're going to be receiving some science per se. And don't freak out, it's not going to be hard. You're not going back to high school to biology and physiology class. I've made it simple, but there are certain concepts that I need you to understand. And if you need me to slow down, just let me know and I will slow down. But we're going to start with concepts. And at the end, we're going to focus on four main things that will be your guide comprised so that you can deliberately bring it back to your life. Okay. And we have a break in between, Rodrigo, right? We have like a break in between after 30 minutes. Wonderful. So the way I've tried to do this is first we get all of that information, then we get the break, and then we come back to learn what we can apply. And there should be enough time for questions. So hopefully we get to do it just like that. Okay. So just as a recap, I have a master's in psychobiology and cognitive neurology. I am a biologist. I'm the first Latina mindfulness life coach, and you'll see why we will be combining mindfulness and neurology here. I'm also the founder of an app, which is Brain Gym, and I have a little gift for you guys at the end. I always like to give something for the Utel community. So if you stick until the end, you guys will receive a gift from me and my team. And lastly, I'm also a business coach. So essentially, I work a lot with your neurology and your habits and your mindset to help you thrive. I'll either help you that through business if you want to change your financial situation, financial freedom, location freedom. I help you build your own digital entrepreneur world and company, or I have my patients in which I will be helping them with whatever specific issue they want to be working on. So today we're going to learn how the brain works. Now, the main thing about this is I wouldn't want to say I lied to you with the topic, but the topic is not exactly what we're going to be looking at today because we tend to think of the brain as this, exactly as this image, as this huge ecosystem. But in reality, the brain is only one piece of when we want to change. Say you want to learn a new language. Actually, let me know in the chat if someone here would like to learn a new language. Or maybe you want to stop doing something. There's a habit that you want to stop doing. Maybe you don't want to wake up and look at your phone every day. Or maybe you want to start doing something. You want to save money. You want to invest. Maybe you want to move to a different country. If these are things that you want to do, or if there's something that you want to change or adapt or stop doing, your brain is only one piece. Okay. What we will be focusing on today is your nervous system, because the brain is one small, tiny piece of the nervous system. Our nervous system is divided between two parts per se, and the one that we will be focusing mainly on today is the one that comprises your spinal cord and your brain. So yes, we will be learning how the brain works, but you will be learning beyond that, not just how the brain works, but how your nervous system works. You will get a little bit of background on that, and you will learn how to adapt your nervous system so you can achieve your goals. Okay. So right now, I want you to take 30 seconds. If you have a piece of paper, write down one big goal that you have, whether that is any of the ones that I mentioned. You want to learn a new language, you want to save a certain amount of money, you want to start something, you want to have a career, you want to graduate from Utel. What is it that you want to do? And I want you to write it down on a piece of paper. Obviously, feel free to share it on the chat as well. But I want you to have this goal very present with you right now and to sort of take it out of yourself and put it on a piece of paper. It's going to go beyond us and beyond just what we're thinking and wanting and dreaming. Okay. So we have connections between our brain. Oh, I'm okay. I love this. To get a new job, I'm gonna keep looking at the chat and I'll keep on explaining. So feel free to keep on sending your goals. So we have connections, okay, between the brain and other parts of your body, and vice versa. That means that we have connections between all of the other parts in our bodies to our brain. So essentially, we have a continuous loop of communication. And this is why I chose this image. There's a loop of communication going all around through the nervous system. For instance, say you have a stomach ache, okay? You have stomach pain. Yes, the pain 100% happens in your stomach, right? That's how you can say, my stomach hurts. But what is actually causing you to feel that pain and communicate that pain is your nervous system, is not just your brain. Your nervous system is actually what causes that pain. And to explain this better, the nervous system is what governs all of the biological systems in the body. And of course, it is also influenced by other systems in the body. So again, it's a continuous loop of communication. Now, why this is important? Because we are made up of trillion cells, and the cells are neurons. So far, we're understanding of the nervous system and our body. It's always communicating everything. Every part of our body is in continuous communication, and it is made up of trillions of cells. This is very interesting because by the 1800s, 1900s, it was believed that the nervous system was one giant cell, when in reality, we're made up of trillions of cells that are neurons. Now, what happens with these neurons? The first thing that I want you to know is that there is a language between these neurons and in the nervous system. So from now on in the presentation, every time you see NS, it means the nervous system, okay? You're at that point in class, per se, that you can have it as an acronym and you don't need to write it down again every time. So the language of the nervous system, the way our neurons are communicating, or the way we get to understand that we have a stomach pain, or that we have a goal like moving abroad or getting a new job, is through electricity. Now, if we're having that continuous communication, that also means that you and I and Rodrigo and everyone in this room have a flow of electricity. You are a flow of electricity. And this is nothing about magic. This is pure science. There are so many, and at the end of the presentation, you will see I've cited a bunch of things too. So if you want to check, there's NCBI, Harvard Journal, etc. So we are a flow of electricity as well. And the order of semblance is important. I don't know if you guys remember certain rules of algebra, and it would say the order of the factors will not alter the result. Here, it does alter the result. Okay. And I'm going to give you an example that I think will bring you back to certain years in Facebook. I don't know who remembers this dress. Years ago, there was a big debate about this dress, and some people would see it as white and gold, and some people would see it as blue and black. And I want to see in the chat who sees it as what. I for sure see it as white and gold. There is no way I see this as blue and black, but I want to see who sees it as white and who's seeing it as blue in this moment. And also who remembers this? Because when I was learning about this in school, it really took me back to this moment. And since then, I feel like it's stayed ingrained in my brain. And I want you to understand why white and gold, why we see this, why certain of us will see it in certain colors and the other half will see it in completely different colors. And there's no way we see it otherwise. And it's not like I'm crazy or that I'm crazy because I see it in white and blue, or that Giselle is crazy because she sees it in blue and black. It simply means that our experiences dictate what we see, what we perceive, etc. So this is super interesting because that means that the way we see the world is very subjective, because we are basically, such as we're governed by the nervous system, we are also governed by our experiences. Our experiences are dictating our current reality. That is extremely interesting is not that we are wired differently because we were born differently, is what came after that. And that is why I get to see it one way. And this is why Rogelio, Rogelio get to see it in a different way. I'm reading at the chat and seeing who's seeing it, how, and why. Okay, so what are experiences? And again, you can write a lot here if you want. I'm giving you, I know, a lot of definitions, but just to simplify it, experiences are memories. Okay, you can think about it that way. It's very simple because today everything that we've experienced to us is almost as past. We remember it. They are memories. Okay. So I want you to think of a piano right now. And this is an analogy from Dr. Huberman. Dr. Huberman is the leader of neuroscience research at the University of Stanford in California. And I was lucky enough to attend one of his conferences in New York City. That is where I live. And one of the things that he explained is when you see a piano, right, you have so many different notes that you can be playing on, right? And you can click on all of them and they're differently. And it will depend on the movement in your fingers and how fast you played or how slow you played, what we'll hear. Think about as each and one of the things that you can touch on the piano as a particular experience, as a particular memory. So when we're playing it, if we have a particular order or intensity, that will bring out a particular song. And that is essentially how we are living. It is how intense we're living our memories, how intense and how fast or how slow we're using our past experiences, our memories to bring us into this moment, into the present. And here comes something really, really, really interesting and personal as well. At the age of 17, I became blind in a matter of 2 months from my left eye. I lost 95% of the vision on my left eye. Then I had to leave my country, go or somewhere that they were more specialized on vision. And everything that the doctors kept saying was there is nothing that we can do to give her back her vision, meaning me, the patient. But they kept saying she's so young that her brain could adapt. Today, if I close my right eye, I see pretty well. I would say I actually see 95% well. And that is not because I was able to recover my vision speaking from the eyes. That is because my brain adapted. And that to me is so interesting. No one gave me back my vision, but my nervous system and my brain through my experiences, because it was able to adapt and think for 17 years, she's been able to see how do we portray an image today. And your bodies are capable of doing that. And yes, as we age, it becomes harder. And I was lucky enough that was at age 17 and not 11 years later at age 29 or 12 years later at age 29. But our brains are capable of adapting. And it all comes down to our experiences. Some people will see green, some people will see red. And what happens here is when I'm seeing white and gold in this image is certain cells of my nervous system and my body are being activated. And for you guys that see it somehow green or see blue or black, other cells in your own body of your own flow of electricity are being activated. Okay. Are we following so far? Send me a thumbs up if we're following so far. I know this is a lot of information, but we're about to get to, I think, the most interesting part. Let me see if I can see you all. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Now, when we're talking about an experience, we want to understand how an experience happens and the 5 things that the nervous system goes through. And this will be very important for later on when we want to be able to control, per se, our brain and our actions. Okay. So I put it here on a list for you. You can write it down, you can listen, and I will take my time to explain each of them. Okay. So it all makes sense. And here the order is, it is important. So the very first thing that happens is sensation. Okay. So we have sensory receptors in our body. Maybe you remember studying when you were young, or even just learning out of common sense. When you touch something and it is hot, those are your sensory receptors. And there's the loop of communication saying, stop touching it so you don't burn yourself. When you're outside and it's raining, today it's raining all day where I am, you want to go somewhere covered because you don't want to get wet, but you realize it's raining because of the sensation. Maybe it gets really humid. Maybe you start feeling some drops, but you have the sensation. That is the very first part, and actually a non-negotiable element of how our nervous system will translate our experiences. Okay. And here's something extremely interesting to me. This is not a capacity that humans have, but just for you to see how big sensation is, there are certain kinds of turtles that get to migrate in the ocean and through the world, not through their vision, but through the sensation of magnetic fields. And they get that sensation on their noses. So can you imagine? I am someone that is not great when it comes to finding myself. I usually will have my phone and I will be using Google Maps or Apple Maps. My husband is a complete opposite. We exit the metro and he knows exactly where to go. And maybe he needs one time to go from point A to point B and he knows how to return. I do not. Maybe I need 5 times, and those 5 times I will be using maps. Okay. So if I could have a perception on my nose through sensory receptors to understand the magnetic field and know exactly where to go, I would feel like I have superpowers. But that is how important that first step is. Sensation is extremely powerful. It is the first step of the funnel per se. And instead of a funnel going down like this, it's the opposite. It starts like this with sensation, and then all of these things will get bigger and wider and a little bit more complicated. So sensation is our first one. Our second one is perception, okay? So what is perception? I touch something, okay? It's taking that sensation and then it's taking focus and making sense of what it is. So after I touch something, my brain, my nervous system start thinking, okay, what is it? How do I translate that into something that I can comprehend? Okay. And here comes the attention as well. Right now, you are doing that. You're using your senses and you are trying to make sense of the information that I'm hopefully delivering well to you guys. Now, we have attention, and attention comes right here in perception, okay? And I know I want to teach you about focus. So the first thing I want you to learn about focus and productivity, here are two big things, okay? The first one, we have two spotlights of attention. So whomever has told you that multitasking does not exist is wrong. That is the first thing I want you to learn. I'll get to something later about multitasking in just 2 minutes, okay? You have two spotlights of attention. Right now, for instance, I can hear the rain and I can deliver this information. I am focused on you specifically, all of you attending this talk right now, the Hotel Discovery Day. So my attention to the sound of the rain is very diluted. It's probably at level 1 out of 5. And my attention to you is probably at level 4. And then I get the equilibrium. Maybe you eat watching a show, right? If I'm very tired sometimes, or it's my day off, sometimes that's exactly what I like to do. I put on Friends and I eat my salad and I'm doing both things. I am not fully focused on either of those, right? That is possible for the brain to do. You have two spotlights of attention. Now, second thing I want you to learn about focus is I do not recommend multitasking, okay? That is one of the main things I learned in my latest master's degree. And it's how much fatigue multitasking will cause to your body, your brain, and your nervous system. Because as I just said, we have two spotlights. You're never fully focused on one thing. So ideally, you decide to focus on one thing at a time and do it better and faster. In the end, so many new studies have been showing how if you stop multitasking, and because we're always sort of already multitasking, you hear your phone vibrate as you're working, or maybe someone rings the door, or you know that at 5 p.m. you have to go somewhere. Your brain is already always kind of multitasking. So if you stop deliberately multitasking and choose to do one activity at a time, your results will be better and faster. And I know it's a hard thing to stop doing, but once you stop doing and go back to monotasking, trust me, it becomes the opposite. You don't want to go back to multitasking. And there are certain things that you can do that I understand, and you can be more effective with time. For instance, if I want to listen to a podcast, maybe I will play it while running, or maybe I will play it while I'm going on a walk. So, yes, but I will rarely put a podcast that it's a scientific podcast because I will not have my full attention on any of those. Now, I'm going to get a little bit ahead of myself. It is a bit easier because I know how to walk, right? I've known how to walk probably since 1 year old, 2 years old. So that is something that we call reflexive. I don't have to think when I'm walking, okay, now right leg, now left leg, now right leg, now left leg. You just walk, right? So, okay, it's reflexive. My body's still working, but that is reflexive. And I'm having my completely different deliberate attention to what I'm listening to. So that is for perception. Okay. Now, what I want you to get out of this as well is that attention in the end is under your control. We tend to think the world is flying by, it is already May, we're almost mid-year. How is everything going on so fast? But in reality, you can control your attention to anything, even to your emotions, which will be the next thing. There is a certain amount that you can control. We'll get to it in just a second. Okay. So there are aspects of our nervous system that I want you to understand so far that are reflexive, as I said, like walking, breathing, and there are aspects that are deliberate. That is top down. That means I have to think and then the body will perform. And reflexive, think about it almost as walking, is bottom down. You don't have to think and you just do. Okay. Now we go to the next one, feelings and emotions. This, I think, is something that today most people want to learn. There is a boom in mental health. It's actually Mental Health Awareness Month. It is May. Gen Z specifically, they're a lot more connected to their well-being and to being present and in the moment. So I think this boom is really helping us, but it's also awakening two things: a lot of curiosity for how our nervous system works, for how our emotions work, for what they are, and also a lot of fake information. So I'm glad that you're here today and you can learn a lot of new things and understand how you actually work. Now, when we talk about feelings and emotions, the first thing is that they are a product of your nervous system. Again, yes, we think of our heart and we actually feel a lot of our emotions in our heart, but we also feel them in our back. When you have back pain or neck pain, we also feel them on our stomach when we're really upset or stressed. So a lot will be on your chest and on your heart, but feelings and emotions are a product of the nervous system. We talked about electricity. Neurons are electrically active and they're releasing chemicals. Okay. These chemicals, we can call them neuromodulators. You've maybe heard of some of them: dopamine, serotonin. I'm almost 100% sure you've heard of some of them. My thesis was on dopamine because so many people used to think that dopamine was extremely related to happiness, but in reality, dopamine is related to motivation. And then it is motivation that will help us release certain chemicals that make us feel happy. It is extremely interesting. So we are sort of biased, our neurons are a little bit biased on what will affect us. We, as humans, tend to be more affected by quote unquote negative things and negative experiences than positive experiences. But if you learn to be a lot more present, you will be able to make those positive quote unquote experiences last longer and have the same kind of impact. Because the reality is not that it's because it's negative that it has a bigger impact of you, is because you feel it more. It stays longer with you. It takes more of you. So you know how I told you that I'm losing my voice a little bit from that concert. One of the things that I did in that moment, because I've been a fan of this singer since I was like 9 years old, and I really wanted to go to that concert, at times I would stop, and instead of looking in front of me, I was looking around at all of the lights, at the dads and the daughters, at the friends, at the couples, and taking in that moment so that I would also get to keep that with me, not just the negative things or the sad things or the stress things, so that those are memories that I get to keep and they become experiences in my body and in my nervous system. It's really, really, really interesting. So the way these neuromodulators will work is they attach to something, okay? They will have a response. The only thing that I want you to get out of this is that we have neuromodulators that will release more chemicals and they will allow us to feel in a certain way. And that will change from culture to culture, because it used to be thought that there were circuits for happiness, circuits for being stressed, circuits for being sad. But there are cultures in which showing that you're happy is very welcomed, showing that you're sad is very welcomed. And there are cultures in which we have the opposite. It is not seen good if you show or you cry on public. So it is not fair to say that we have circuits for when you're sad, that you have circuits for when you're happy. What happens is that we have certain emotions, and those emotions will awaken these neuromodulators, and we will feel certain things, and that will create a chain of reaction. Okay, so emotions tend to be passive receptive. Okay, and while they're not fully under our control, what we think is, and here's a great tip for mindfulness, an emotion can be created per se or changed in 90 seconds. So we already talked about perception. Perception was the focus, right? So say you're going through something hard and right now you're listening to this and you start thinking again on that, or you start feeling sad. You have the ability in 90 seconds, if you're fast, to change that and say, okay, either I think of something quote unquote positive, or I bring myself back to this moment. And you can do that through things as, how does my sweater feel? How does the weather feel? Do I need some water right now? Or here's a great exercise that I love recommending: activate your five senses. So, first one, what do I see? Look around you and find something that normally you wouldn't see. So, I know this room, right? I know where I am. What is something that I normally don't see, that is not too obvious? Then, what do I hear? What is something that I normally don't hear? Right now, I can hear the fridge if I pay enough attention. Do that by all of your five senses, and you'll bring yourself back to this moment. Now, number four that our nervous system does, these are thoughts, okay? This is simple and short. We are what we remember from the past and what we are living in the present and what we want to get to in the future. And when we talk about thoughts, we have three. We have reflexive, what we said we do fast, we don't have to think about. We have deliberate, but we decide and have to think more. And we have the thoughts that are happening all day long. Like, I have to call my mom, I have to answer that email. So we are all the time going through these three things. And lastly, we go through actions, okay? Actions perhaps will be my favorite because it is sort of like the result. There is actually Dr. Sherrington. He won a Nobel Prize for this. And he said something that I find to be very captivating. He says, movement is the final common pathway. That means that through movement, through action, is what we leave almost as a legacy, right? Right now, I'm doing an action and I'm able to give something to you. Maybe it is on my journals, maybe it is on my trips, but there are these physical things that bring results. So actions are behaviors or paths that we create through going through these four things before. And most of these four things that you see here, including this fifth one, perception, sensation, feelings, emotions, thoughts, they are designed to either impact our behavior or not. What does that mean? Is that if we don't put our brain, per se, into this, that's when we become extremely impulsive. But if we decide to be mindful, we can control our actions. So we can design our future. That to me is extremely, extremely, extremely powerful, because this is oftentimes how we're thinking and how we're feeling. We feel like it is our nervous system, or what we tend to think, that our brain has control over us. But in reality, can you change your nervous system? Yes. you have the ability to change your nervous system. Do we want to take the break, Rodrigo?
Sure, if you feel like this is the right time, I'm absolutely like into what you're you're saying. But if you feel like
I
this is the
let you
right
guys
time to,
decide. You guys can decide if you want to send in the chat, say continue or say break. It's up to you guys. I'm very happy to continue, and I'm also totally okay to take a pause. I know that the information is dense, but it is also very captivating. So it's definitely up to you guys.
yeah, let's
Let's
wait for
see
you
what
guys to
people
let us
say
know.
and then continue. Okay, okay, happily. Let's continue. Okay. So
Keep going, yeah, let's
keep
go.
going. Okay, wow, this is
Yeah,
great actually. I'm
you
very
let us know
glad that
when
you
to
all
pause.
want to continue. Okay. So maybe what I'll do is I'll pause after the stats of mindfulness and then give you a break. And then what you guys can do is maybe make sure you have a journal or somewhere to write so that you can start writing things that you can do to apply. Okay. And I think that that will be very helpful to you guys. Okay. Awesome.
Thank
This
you.
makes me very happy. So you have the ability to change your nervous system. Again, we have deliberate, which you know what it is. We are trying to change things, and we have reflexive. They don't take that much energy from ourselves. And when we want to change something to go from deliberate to reflexive, which means that it would become easy, you want to be able to measure three things. And you can remember this as DPO if you want, okay? Duration, path, and outcome, okay? And I'm going to use one of the examples from someone that answered at the very beginning of the talk, and they said, I want to move abroad, okay? What does this mean? The first thing is, okay, the duration. How long would it take me, one, to move abroad, and two, to start changing those five things that we talked about previously, right here on my nervous system? Okay, that is the very first question. The second question, the second part is the path. Okay, the path will be, and I will give you three questions very soon, no worries, is what is the point A to point B. Where am I today? Where do I need to get to, or where do I want to get to? And what is that path from point A and point B? And lastly, what is that point B? What is the outcome? What is the result? What is that goal that you guys wrote in the paper at the very beginning of this talk? Okay. So when you want to change your nervous system, you are going to be activating your neuromodulators to know that something is different, that something is going different. So with the DPO is what happens with the decision. We want to learn something new. We want to resist something. We want to speak up. We're taking ourselves outside of our comfort zone. Moving abroad is putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. Stopping a behavior is putting yourself outside a comfort zone. Responding or not responding to someone. I work this a lot with a lot of my patients is how do you respond to your boss, or how do you respond to your partner? How do you respond to your mother-in-law? And people oftentimes are battling with this. This will be putting ourselves outside of your comfort zone. And so often we think of putting ourselves outside of our comfort zone as something much bigger in our ideas, like moving abroad or running a half marathon or starting your own business. But in reality, we have small actions and small decisions on the day to day in which we're also required to step outside our comfort zones. For instance, if you want to start waking up early, or if you want to start going to bed earlier, or you want to start not using TikTok before you go to bed, or not stay working until 1 a.m., or not procrastinate your homework until the very last minute and do everything 24 hours before. These are things that will require us to stay a step outside of our comfort zone. And what happens here is we're engaging with different brain cells that are waking up those neuromodulators that I talked to you guys about, that are saying to our brain, something is different. Something that I want to do is working differently. So that is our first step. Our nervous system is getting the cue. It's almost like we're saying, okay, attention. But what happens after? Maybe someone's having a conversation and they say something that you don't agree with, but you know that it's better at the moment for yourself or for the situation to not say something. Your brain's going, I shouldn't say something. I shouldn't say something. I shouldn't say something. I shouldn't say something. And I'm sure all of us can put ourselves in that situation at least once in our lives, right? Here we're having deliberate, right? We're choosing. If we wouldn't have some mindfulness, if we wouldn't have some control, we would be impulsive and we would just blurt things out of our mouths and say whatever. But here we're filtering. So it's deliberate. It's again top down processing, top down regulation. But if we're having something that is top down, we're bringing some stress into our body. That thought of stepping outside of your comfort zone because you would rather just say it, or the opposite. Maybe you want to say something and you're trying to think, just say it, just say it. It's okay. It's again stepping outside of your comfort zone. And that is waking up your stress and another neuromodulator called noradrenaline or norepinephrine. When our norepinephrine is rising, our stress is rising, our cortisol is rising, and our nervous system is trying to figure out what to do. All it's realizing so far with norepinephrine and stress is something is different. So that is the beginning, right? We haven't yet changed our behavior. So far, our forebrain is preventing you from saying what you think you shouldn't say. And that feels like agitation, right? And children, for example, you know how people say children don't have a filter and people just laugh or whatever they say. I know I said a lot of things when I was a kid that I shouldn't have said. One of them that my family still makes fun of me is that when I was, I think, 5 years old, I asked my doctor, my pediatrician, doctor, why are you so hairy? I would never ask my doctor that today, you know? And we're all different. Some people are hairy, some people are not hairy. And my family laughs about it today, but that is because from 0 to 25 years old, you have the capacity of changing your nervous system much faster and much easier. This is why people that are 25 years old or younger have an easier time learning a new language or have an easier time training or learning a new sport or randomly deciding to move abroad or start a new job, start a new career. It becomes easier. 26 and up, and I'm part of that club, it becomes a bit harder. It's not impossible. It just takes this agitation and this stress and this stepping outside of our comfort zone for us to be able to do it. Okay. So far we're understanding that impulsivity is a lack of top-down processing. And another thing that will inhibit and make it harder for you to have that top-down processing is alcohol. This is why sometimes you hear people saying, oh, I don't speak Italian, for example, but when I have 2 glasses of wine, I speak perfect Italian because you're thinking things less. If you want to live a life in which you don't require that, and you get to do the things that you want to do and design your life, my biggest recommendation, which can be as expensive as you want because you can invest in many mentors if you want, or a weekly basis therapist, or you can be free because there are many resources that are free, is mindfulness. Mindfulness is your biggest and best tool to connect yourself to changing your nervous system. Mindfulness is what will make it easier for you to change those 5 things. Now, maybe you've heard about the word neuroplasticity. I've heard it a lot. I see it a lot in colleagues and in new coaches, and it's become almost this hot topic. And I want to explain it to you very simple of what plasticity is, okay? Plasticity is when we work with our neurons, the ones that I talked to you about the very beginning, so that they can change our current connections and the way they work so that you can go from something being challenging or deliberate to them being reflexive. So maybe waking up in a foreign country, it's deliberate at the beginning. You've already made it. You already moved abroad. But then waking up and adapting to the culture, adapting to the language, to a new currency, to different seasons, to living far away from what you've known, the beginning is challenging. if you want it to become reflexive, easy, not top-down processing, it is through plasticity. And you can do it. That to me is so inspiring because you can. You, again, are capable of changing your nervous system, and that means that you're capable of designing your life. You are not trapped in your current situation. You're not trapped in your present moment. Whether it seems great or it seems miserable or it seems awesome, you can always make it better. And that is through plasticity. So when we want to do that, what we do is we want to direct our own neural changes. And that way we decide that we want to change ourselves. We have one organ in our body, it's the only organ in our body in which we can decide that we want to change the way it works. Think about it. You cannot tell your lungs that you want to change the way the cells in your lungs work. You cannot tell your skin, which is the biggest organ in your body, that you want it to change the way it works, right? Some people maybe want to stop having acne. Some people maybe want to stop having eczema. And there's a lot of mind-body connection that you can do, but you cannot deliberately change it. Your brain, however, as a human, you can deliberately change it. You can deliberately train yourself to change that. And that to me is super inspiring. And I hope that it is inspiring you to create the life that you want. So these are the 3 questions that go with the DPO method that I was telling you about: the duration, path, and outcome. The first question that you want to ask yourself every time you want to change your nervous system or your current reality is, what particular aspect of my nervous system am I trying to change? So go back to your 5 things: sensation, perception, emotions, actions, or thoughts and actions. What particular aspect am I trying to change the most? So what will go first? Then, which ones are more available for you to change? What will be the easier path for you to begin? And lastly, how am I going to do that? This goes through actions, right? Choosing and acting, choosing and acting, because you are free. You are able to do that. So I'm going to either take a picture of this or do a screenshot or write them down really quickly. But these questions you 200% need if you want to start changing your reality, if you want to change something, to go from challenging to go to something easy, from deliberate to reflexive. So that it is, yes, you feel the agitation at the beginning, but then it just becomes part of you. It's part of your personality. It's part of who you are. Now, the whole mission, I would say my personal mission, and also the mission of my company that's called Body Memos, is to help others reclaim their freedom. And today, you are doing that. You're learning how to reclaim your freedom by understanding and adapting your nervous system. And the 4 tools that I'm going to teach you right now after the break, but I'll first give you a lot of stats about mindfulness, are these 4 ones. First is mindfulness. The second one is sleep. The third one is focus. And the last one is action. And while there is no one magical pill that you can take, there are very specific actions that you can do to start designing your life and changing how you're receiving the results that you're receiving and the results that you want to attract to your life. So just to give you a glimpse of how powerful mindfulness is, I'm going to give you 2 slides of certain statistics from certain studies that I chose. And then later, you guys can go and check on all of these sources. So the first one is meditation and mindfulness can reduce depression relapses by 12%. Studies showed that 20 minutes of daily mindfulness meditation resulted in a significant reduction in pro-inflammatory activity. So if you're someone that have issues, for example, in your neck, in your knees, or have migraines or headaches or stress all over, these are all inflammatory things. So only 20 minutes of mindfulness, of being present in the moment or using other tools of mindfulness, will help with that. A study also reveals that transcendental meditation can slow the rate of cellular aging and is associated with longevity. Last year, I was very into longevity, not because, yes, I mean, everyone wants to live longer, but not because I wanted to keep on looking younger, but because There is just so much going on at the moment. And I live in the US and you see so much of it. Sometimes you walk around and um there is Ozempic today to lose weight. There's Botox everywhere. There are just so many things around that's supposed to help you look young, but not necessarily stay young and healthy. And just yesterday, when I was finishing up the notes for this, I came across this 94-year-old gymnast lady that still performs gymnastics as if she would be 20 years old. And she had an accident when she was young. She came back to perform at 57 years old. That is neuroplasticity. That is changing your nervous system. And I'm sure this person, and if you Google her, she practiced mindfulness as well. It is a huge correlation between it, between your longevity and, of course, with the mind body connection, also your looks. According to a study, 10 minutes of daily meditation can curb unhealthy food cravings, but 40%. It's huge. That necessity of wanting to eat chocolate and sugar and fats that are not really helping you. Practicing meditation can counter the effects of anxiety disorders by reducing the stress response. So here you've seen NCBI, McEwen, McKinsey, Hoge, Alexander, etc. Now let's go to the second one. Meditation classes can help people with social anxiety disorders by improving emotion regulation. Remember, emotion were the third in the list, emotions and feelings. 84, this is maybe my favorite, 84% of people who meditate do so to reduce stress and anxiety levels, and they achieve it. 53% of people who meditate say it improves memory and concentration. Remember, I was going to give you a guide for focus and productivity. 10 minutes of meditation will help you so much more than doing a to-do list every single day that has 10 things and they're impossible to achieve all in one day. I would actually recommend that you have at a maximum 3 main things that you want to achieve per day, because that is attainable. It's still challenging, whether you believe it or not, and it will take your actions in a chronological order. 80% of people who practice meditation report that it lowers their blood pressure. Meditation is thought to reduce insomnia by as much as 50%, and this is from Harvard Medical School. The second tool that I'm giving you today is sleep. So look how important the correlation between these are. And lastly, before I let you have a little break and I can have some water for my voice, a 2020 report found that employee productivity and focus increased by 120% with a regular mindfulness and meditation practice. This is insane. So I'm going to let you have a break. I'm going to let you process a little bit of everything that I've told you so far, and maybe come back with a journal or something where you can write down some of the next things that I will be sharing with you. Rodrigo, can you remind us how long the break is, please?
It's going to be around 10 minutes tops. I'm going to do a really quick presentation. I don't want to deviate us from what we are already talking. I don't want you guys to distract you guys. But yeah, let's give you a few minutes so you can wind down and have some water, and we can come back in a while.
Sounds good. I'll see you all in 10 minutes.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Lorena, so much. So let's give her a couple of minutes so she can rest her voice. So how's everyone doing? Is everyone feeling all right? You are you enjoying the talk? There's Beatrice saying I need to start meditating. Yeah, I do need to start meditating as well, Beatrice. So please don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. First, I want to tell you and take the time to tell you a little bit about Utel. I'm going to be sharing my screen really quick. Remember, if you have questions, if you want to ask anything to Lorena, please, we're going to have the time, so write them down. Keep everything nearby. If you want to like write it down, have a notepad or something, please do it so we can keep talking and keep asking questions to Lorena, and she will answer them in a while. So just to tell you a little bit about our university for you guys, for those who don't know much about Utel, we're a university and we are all over the world. We have presence in more than 60 countries. We have been in the market for over 11 years, and we have more than 150,000 students and graduates worldwide. We are now currently in the middle of organizing different graduations in Latin America and also in the Asia Pacific. So in a couple of months, we're gonna have our first ever ceremony. It's gonna be a virtual ceremony for all our graduates in the Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, and India. So we're gonna be broadcasting it. So be sure to check our social media because we're gonna be letting you guys know also everything about that if you want to see the experience for our graduates, our alumni. So as any university, we have our official validity, we have all the accreditations needed, and we are actually part of different rankings and we have received so many awards that also gives us, as I was mentioning, the validity and boosts our international presence as well. So just a few partners that we have and then support our education quality are Google, Amazon, Facebook, UNTAR, which is part of the United Nations as well. And when we talk about our commitment with our community and especially our students, we are committed to quality, inclusion, humanism, flexibility, and innovation. Something that remarks and that makes Utel different is that we adapt to response to your needs. We have a 24/7 available platform where you, as students, are going to be able to get in touch with your professors, with your classmates, anyone you need to get in touch, you will have access to all the needed libraries, virtual libraries. You have your forums and everything there. So and you have it available, as I was saying, 24/7. So just to talk a little bit about our academic programs, we have 8 bachelor's degrees and 6 master's degrees offered right now for our Asia Pacific community in these 3 different areas of faculties: School of Management, School of Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences, and the School of Engineering. These are our bachelor degrees and these are our master's degrees. And if you want to learn more about them, you are more than welcome to come to our website and check them because you're going to be able to see all the courses that we offer on each program, either is a bachelor or a master degree. And if we talk about our education model, we have an approach on work collaboration, on learning community, flexibility, and employability. As I was mentioning, we adapt to you. So you are always going to have a flexible platform. Is a good learning focus because, again, we know that most of our students are always working and have more of a limited time. So we try to adapt to them. We try to give them all the tools they need so they can study whenever they want, wherever they are. We give you also experiences like this. And as I was mentioning a while ago, there is bibliographic and multimedia content available on the campus all the time. So again, this is our 24/7 virtual classroom. And finally, why to study at Utel? Well, we give you an online education experience, which again, as I was mentioned, is very flexible and adaptable. We have accreditation and affiliation with international agencies. We are flexible, accessible, and inclusive. We have undergraduate and graduate degrees. We offer you quality, 24/7 support, affordability, and conveniences. We believe that we are part of the democratization of accessibility to education, especially for you guys to study bachelor's and master's. And we also offer 6 months free online English training and online resources like virtual libraries. Also, we have very short program durations. So if you want to go ahead and study a bachelor degree, you can either do it in 4 years or 2 years and 10 months, depending if you want to do it regularly or intensively. And our master's degree has a duration of 1 year and 6 months. So finally, these are some of our partners in industries who we work with and receive special benefits from us. So that's a little bit about us. If you want to learn more about Utel, as I was mentioning, if you want to check our social media accounts, you can go ahead and click on any of those, and you can go to our website, as I was mentioning, and you can see all the programs that we have very detailed. If you want to go to our Facebook page, you're going to see all the events that we have and everything that we post there, as well as our YouTube channel, where we are actually going to be having this very exact talk posted by the end of the week. It's going to be there. If not, by next Monday, you're going to be able to enjoy it again and share it with all the people that you want to. So that's it from us. And I want to bring back Lorena. And let's see, there it is. So Lorena, whenever you're ready, you can share your screen again and we can keep going.
Wonderful. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. Where did it go? Wonderful. Okay, share screen. Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the Utel presentation as well. I've been with them for a while, working in certain discovery days, and all I can say from my end is they really are extremely professional and usually so wonderful team. So hopefully you guys can get to experience education through them as well. So to continue, we're going to go into the four action items that I was telling you, and I'm going to go through most of them and explain how you can start applying. If there's something that I take pride on, is that when I teach something, is I help my clients and my patients to be able to apply things so that when they apply things, it becomes easy and it's something that they can take into different stages of their lives and different aspects of their lives. And if you want to find more of that for free, I'm going to send you the name of my podcast. Rodrigo has the link of it too, but you'll find a bunch of episodes in which you will be able to learn about new things and how to apply things. I'll always give you exercises. And it is actually a pretty successful podcast. It is top 5% in the world, most followed and most shared globally. So hopefully you guys can join that community. So mindfulness. Okay, I put here 6 things that you guys can do to activate mindfulness in your life. The first one is a bell meditation. So this, you can look it up on YouTube, and all you'll have is a repetitive sound of a bell. If you join any of my programs, I usually give it to you for free. But if you're not ready for that, you can search on YouTube bell meditation, and it's a repetitive sound that will go dong, and it goes up and down. And usually it lasts 2 to 3 minutes. And all you have to do, you can close your eyes if you want, or you can keep them open, but try to sit still, always with a straight spine, because there is a lot of oxygen flowing and energy flowing, and you want to keep that pathway as open as possible. And you'll focus on the sound of when it's going up and when it's going down, and that will help you be a lot more present and start working on your focus, which is our third thing here. Number 2 is the exercise that I told you before about activating your 5 senses. So just a reminder, you go by each of them and find something that you normally don't hear or listen or taste or whatever. Number 3 is 10 minutes of pure silence. This is something that I learned from the author, I forgot her name, Glennon Doyle. And she says how hard it was for her to start this just 10 minutes of pure silence. It sounds easy, it sounds short. And if 10 is a lot, start with 2 and then increase for 3 until you can get to hopefully 5 and ideally 10. But if you can sit on your bed, on your couch, or in your closet, which is what she used to do, and just have 10 minutes of pure silence in which you're not thinking of what you have to do after, of what you haven't done yet, of what you're feeling, and you just try to stay there, that is pure mindfulness, probably the purest form of mindfulness, of just being still. Because what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is being present in the here and now. And the best way of being present in the here and now usually is through gratitude, but we start activating that through things. So, for example, when you start monotasking, you're activating mindfulness in your life too, because you're being very present. Another way that you can do present is, yes, gratitude, or, which I'm going to skip one just to continue the order, is do a ordinary thing fully present. For example, you shower, right? When you're showering, try to be as mindful as possible. What does that mean? Try to tell everything that you're doing, tell it to yourself. So, okay, I'm stepping into the shower. I'm opening the water. I'm letting water flow through myself. I'm about to apply shampoo. And you get all of this. You're telling either out loud or in your mind, I'm rubbing the shampoo. If you didn't know, that's great to activate first the product and then you apply it. And then you're doing, I am putting it on my scalp. I am rinsing the shampoo. If you go step by step, or maybe while you brush your teeth, that takes usually should take you at least 2 minutes. If you're doing that, I am applying the toothpaste, I am brushing. If you're fully present in this day-to-day activities, you are activating mindfulness. When I'm really, really, really stressed, I do the shower one. What I aim to do every day, and is my favorite one, is when I'm having a matcha in the morning. Maybe you guys have tea, maybe you guys have coffee. If you're preparing your coffee or you're drinking it, try to do it without anything else. Not reading the newspaper, not listening to music, not listening to the news, not journaling, just drinking your coffee or drinking your matcha. And ask yourself, how does it feel? How does it taste? Is it warm? Is it cold? You can also do this while you're eating, but try to have one activity a day in which you're fully present. The next one is to start meditating. Meditating is actually very easy. I'm gonna go through a quick way of teaching you how to meditate on your own. And hopefully you remember this. So as anything that I said in mindfulness, you should have a straight spine. You can cross your legs, not cross your legs. You can lay down. It doesn't matter. And the first thing that you're gonna do is whenever it feels comfortable, you'll close your eyes. And then you're gonna have the following breathing, okay? You're going to inhale through your nose. And then you're going to do 2 exhales. You're going to do a short exhale and a longer exhale. So it will look something like, and you're going to do that for a little bit, hopefully at least 3 minutes. You'll inhale and then short exhale, long exhale, inhale, short exhale, long exhale. And then when you're ready, you'll inhale and exhale fully just through your nose. And you're going to focus in the pauses in between your inhale. There's a pause, and then it comes an exhalation, and there's another pause. Because in life, when we integrate everything that we're learning, like right now, is normally in pauses. And that is training your nervous system that pauses are good, that pauses are calm, that you are lowering down the norepinephrine, that you're lowering down the stress and the cortisol in a pause. Hence, the 10 minutes of pure silence and the bell meditation. And that, believe it or not, is a meditation. Now, there are multiple guided meditations too, and there are active meditations too, but that is the fastest and most efficient way that I can teach you. And lastly, brain gym, of course, which again, I have a present for you guys at the end. Next would be, ooh, something happened with my computer. Okay, there you go. Next one is sleep. So I want to go through certain things of sleep here because sleep is the most important outside factor for you to be able to change your nervous system. Okay. You need not only the right amount of hours, which should be 7 to 9 hours, but the right schedule. If you're going to sleep sometimes at 12 p.m. and sometimes at 10 and sometimes at 1 a.m., that is not great quality of sleep and will not give you the results that you want, nor physically either. You will age faster too, and your brain will suffer from fatigue. So you want to have a regular sleep schedule and a regular sleep duration so that you have good sleep quality. Okay. The next one is sleep hygiene. This is what you do before and as soon as you wake up, but before you sleep. So sleep hygiene would look something like I stop using my phone at least 30 minutes before I go to bed. You can do an hour. That's fantastic. at a certain moment at night, you try to change all of your light to lower lighting at least. If you can do yellow, orange, or red light, is what all studies say is the best. If you can do red light, it's fantastic. It starts activating your melatonin, you'll start releasing, and you'll be able to rest better and not suffer from insomnia. Another thing that you can do is stop blue light or screen, or if you still have to use your light, have blue light protective glasses. And a huge one here that most people don't know is have dinner at least 3 hours before you go to bed and have it at a consistent schedule. So if you want to go to bed at 11 p.m., have dinner by 8 p.m. every single day, then you will the energy that you used for digesting is used already, and then your body knows that it's soon time to start unwinding and go to bed. You can also have, if you like, a beauty routine after you brush your teeth. I know I love skincare, that really helps as well. And the last thing for sleep hygiene is, as soon as you wake up, however possible, expose yourself to the sun or to the light. Even if it's raining, even if it's cloudy, try to expose yourself longer, and then continuously during the day, if you have the possibility of exposing more and more and more yourself, that's the best way to have a healthy circadian rhythm, because that will bring you to real recovery. In that recovery, and actually in Chinese medicine, and you guys can look this after, is really, really interesting. According to the hours that you sleep, the body is recovering and repairing certain things, like the mind, like the joints, like the muscles, like your digestion. So going to bed early is very important, and then having the right amount of hours. Now, rest. Rest is different. Here are two things that I want to focus on. One, sleep quality, because you want to have a good quality of sleep for recovery. And two, if you're not sleeping well, you can always do a nap. I would recommend that it is not longer than 40 minutes, because after 40 minutes, you go into REM state and your body thinks it's sleeping, and you're going to confuse it and you may end up more fatigued. And also have those 10 minutes of silence or even 20 minutes of rest. According to one of the latest studies on Stanford University, the 20 minutes of rest after a vigorous activity is the best moment to start changing your nervous system. If any of you here practices yoga, you know why we do Shavasana at the end. It's those minutes in which your body is processing. It went through sensation, perception, emotions, thoughts, and actions to digest it all and change the neurological pathways. The next one is practice on your focus, which we'll get to next on the next slide, and practice on your body connection. If you like to work out, try to be connected with your breathing, try to be connected with the muscles, whether it is a HIIT workout, whether it is yoga, Pilates, running, CrossFit. Muscle mind connection is extremely effective. So if you're doing biceps, try to focus on your bicep. If you're doing repetitions on the mat, opening a band, sometimes you don't need to lift your legs higher. Just by the thought of it, you're activating those muscles better. So body connection is extremely important. And for all women here, for your menstrual cycles, it is extremely important to accommodate your workouts and your training to your menstrual cycle. And that is something that we do in Brain Gym as well. But it will help a lot with your focus levels and your energy levels, because your hormones are shifting and changing, and your focus is also changing throughout those 30 days, approximately. Number 3 is focus, okay? This is one method that I recommend. It is not the one that works best for me. So this is why I'm saying find your own method as well. But you can test Pomodoro method. Pomodoro method teaches you to do 40 minutes of work, 5 minutes of rest, 40 minutes of work, 5 minutes of rest. And after 4 sessions of Pomodoro, you have, I believe, 20 minutes of rest. Okay. It doesn't work the best for me, but you can test it out. It works great on a lot of my patients and on a lot of people that I know. There are free apps, or you can just set up your timer on your phone or on your watch and focus either for 30 minutes or 4 minutes, and then take a 5-minute break and then come back and stop. Because normally most brains are used to working extremely effective for 40 minutes, and then you start losing that spotlight of attention. But find what works for you. Some people work great by 2 hours fully focus, and then take a 30-minute break. And then again, and then again. Find what works for you. But for this, you need to test it out and have that body connection with yourself and that awareness. Next one would be track your hours. If you're a student, track the hours that you study. If you're working and say you have a 9 to 5 job, track the hours that you're actually working and focused. Because in that 9 to 5 period, normally on average, 3 hours are not fully, you're not really, really, really working. So start tracking your hours so that at the end of the day, you don't feel like, wow, I didn't even work until 5 p.m. today. I was working until 7 p.m. and I still feel like I didn't finish this huge to-do list that I had. Number 3 here is extremely interesting. I learned it in my advanced physiology 2 class back in my college days. And I keep on reading about this in studies. And someone that I mentioned at the beginning of the conference was Dr. Huberman, and he talks about it too, is what we call scenario repetition. So for instance, if I am trying to study for an exam, and I know that that exam happens in a room that is cold and the lights are very white, and that I'm going to have a certain type of desk, ideally, you study every day on the most similar conditions to that. The day of the exam, you're going to perform best. If you're studying in your bed or in pajamas, in your sofa, which I understand, trust me, sometimes I work like that. But the moment that you go do your exam, for your nervous system, it is a different scenario. So try to do the most similar scenarios for that. Or, for example, every time you're studying and you don't necessarily have to do a performance, but you want to learn new things, you can always try to do it in the same scenario. Maybe you do it at night, or maybe you do it in the morning. Maybe you have the same kind of outfit, or maybe, and this is really efficient, you have the same kind of background music. Now, if at the day of the exam you cannot have that background music, it's hard. But if that's the only way that you can do the repetition of scenario right now, that will help you at least for memory function. Number 5 is have post-its next to you. If your mind is going at 100 miles per hour or kilometers per hour when you're working or studying, if you have post-it next to you of the things that you have to do, that will help you. Because right now you're trying to pay attention to me or to your boss, but you're thinking, I need to do laundry, I need to go buy this, I still need to turn this on. Have post-its for random things that you have to do that are outside of that task, and have it for you to look at after, and separate 30 minutes or 1 hour a day for you to do that. Number 6, do not overload your to-dos. Try to keep it, as I said before, at a maximum of 3 main goals that you have per day. And number 7, journaling. Journaling is a fantastic tool to do what I call empty the bucket. Your mind is already, trust me, so full, whether you think it or not. And actually, every time I go see, I have a doctor that he's an energetic kinesiologist and osteopath, and he always tells me your mind is a little too full. And he does acupuncture, and he puts a needle for like 60 minutes on my head. Something that helps emptying the bucket is journaling. So really try to start doing that. This is why I ask you to bring a journal as well. And if you don't know where to start, I always, always, always begin my day with 2 questions. How am I today? And what do I need? Maybe what I need is to go for a run for 10 kilometers and not have anyone bother me. Maybe what I need is to dance for 2 minutes in the kitchen and put a happy song. Maybe what I need is silence. Maybe what I need is to call my parents. Maybe what I need is a hug. Know what you need and know how you are. That is clarity. That is the first step. And lastly, from my list is action. There's something that I want you to know here that is not necessarily to do, but it's something for you to remember, is that many times, if not most times, action comes before the motivation. As I told you, I did my thesis in this for my graduation on dopamine. And essentially, in a very simple way, the way dopamine works is it will assess the situation and think, is this worth it or not? It does an allocation of resources. So don't think that when you're first starting something, dopamine is going to think, oh, I'm going to motivate that person. If you're just starting, it's not really making sense to your brain and your nervous system yet. So it will require from some will of yourself to start doing and doing and doing. And when you start doing the things, then you will get motivated. So know that beforehand. Say you want to start running and you can run half a kilometer, and then half a kilometer, you're breathing and it's hard and you're exhausted. The first time that you get to run a whole kilometer, then you're going to be motivated. But it probably will take at least 2 weeks of you running and eating well and resting well and stretching well. And then you'll start getting motivated. Same thing. Maybe you start posting content. At the beginning, it's not picking up. The moment you start speaking up, you get more motivated. Another thing I want you to remember here is done is always better than perfect. I'm not inviting you to have a mediocre life, but 80% done is always good enough. And then, yes, you can check on things, you can learn better, you can practice. The more you practice, the better it will be. But nothing is perfect. And your standards, say I'm your teacher, because all of my clients and my patients have projects and homework that they actually have to do every 5 weeks. My standards are not the same as your standards. So also know that perfection is very subjective and actually non-existent. So done is better than perfect. When I first started my second business, I had a post-it on my computer that said, done is better than perfect, so that I would remind myself to do, and do. Number 3 is what we talked about, the DPO, duration, path, and outcome. And number 4 is very helpful, but very vulnerable, and that is for you to know what I call know the why of the why. If you're here, ask yourself why. First is going to be your logical brain answering, oh, because I want to learn this, or because I want the diploma or the certificate of attendance. Okay, but why? Do you want it because you want to start university, because you want your resume to look better, because you want to feel smarter? What is it? And then ask that why? And when you do that at least five times, and at the beginning it's hard and it feels like scratching yourself, but when you start getting used to asking the why of the why, that's when you make sense of things. And that's when dopamine will be creating a motivating circuit. So that is my very last part of the action for you. And then, as I said, I have a gift for you. So this is Brain Gym. This is my app. This is how it looks. It is divided in four pillars. So you have guided meditations, you have journaling prompts, you have exclusive 10-minute podcasts that are only for members, and you have body connection exercises. Okay. Another thing that you have is you have stress level management tracking, and you have daily mindful minutes tracking. So you can see actually your own data and how it fluctuates over time. And it looks like this. It looks like a Netflix of mindfulness. And then each tool is divided by 4 different things. So you have abundant and structured finances, you have mindfulness and mindset, you have entrepreneurship, and if you're a content creator like me, you also have content creation tools. Now, I am gifting every person that's attended here today 1 free month. So you can find me on the social media that Rodrigo sent. You can go exactly to that link that he just sent, and you can test it out. You can test Brain Gym for 1 month and see if it helps you. See if all of these tools are helping you. This is my gift to you for coming here and spending a little bit over 60 minutes and taking time to learn, because I know that sometimes, especially at your time, which is it was 7 p.m., it's tiring. You maybe want to have dinner, maybe you want to shower, but you decided to show up here and do something for yourself, whether that is to learn something or to get a certificate or to step outside of your comfort zone. And I really hope that you leave here motivated and knowing that you can change your nervous system. So to congratulate you, I am giving you a free month, and you can go on that link. And I just want to say thank you and congratulations. And I'm very, very grateful that we got to spend this time together and that I got to know you. My socials are there, so feel free to contact me. I'll be very, very happy to answer your questions. And thank you, Utel, for inviting me one more time to share some time with your community.
Thank you so much, Lorena, for taking the time as well and for joining us. Thank you everyone also that has joined, has been participating, has been great. So if you guys have any question, please feel absolutely free to leave it. I'm gonna share one question that someone left on like my private chat and left it on the first half of your presentation, and I wrote it down. And it was about when you were talking about the neurological system and how to change it. It was Beatrice, I believe. Yeah, it was Beatrice. She asked, if life experiences can also change the neurological system.
If what can change, sorry, the neurological
Life
system?
experiences.
Yes, so that is actually why I first started with how we're a sum of our experiences. So life experiences will 100% change your nervous system. And if you think about it, it goes through the funnel that I was saying, the inverted funnel. So you have an experience, okay? Say that you get a job, you thought it was your dream job, and you actually really disliked it, okay? It didn't work for you. The first thing is the sensation, okay? You're feeling this place, even receptively, you're not feeling like this is for you. Then your perception goes trying to make sense of this. Then you have your feelings of this is not for me. I feel almost betrayed by my own dreams. I feel like I'm not worth it. And then you have your thoughts of what you're thinking because it's very different what you feel and what you think. And then lastly, you have your actions. So whatever decision you take in that moment, that will impact your result. And I always say, every small decision, actually, your most important decisions are the tiny ones you make every day because your life is a sum up of your day to day, and your day to day is, a result of the tiny decisions that you take. So at the end, what you decide to do with that experience will determine your life and how you design it, if it affects me, quote unquote, positively or negatively. So if I want to change something, I can ask myself, okay, the DPO. And then I can ask myself those three questions. And how do I want to change this reality? Now, most things that experiences that are negative, as I said, will technically impact more our lives unless you train yourself so that the positive will impact your life just as well or as um, impactful per se, then you will be able to do that. So it will always be by experiences because you are a sum of your experiences. If you look back, and actually this is an exercise that I love doing, is ask yourself what experiences have led you to today and how you can change what you want to change. So to answer, very simple, yes. And to remind you, you have the ability of deciding you want to, what you want the impact to be from that experience. And oftentimes they go beyond that because our emotions are passive receptive. But with mindfulness, with all of those other tools, then you can decide what you make out of that. Because you can't control the outside factors, but you can definitely work on the control and the maneuvering and the reclaiming of your freedom of what you do and how you react to these
Right.
experiences.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much for that, Lorena. We have one more question from Renata here. It says, it's hard for me sometimes to connect with my emotions. How can I work on that in order to change my neurological system?
Okay, I really, really, really like this question because first I would, and this are a bunch of journaling exercises. So I would recommend you start journaling. And one tip here is when you start journaling, make sure that eventually you start speaking up too, because I've seen it with patients as well that you start journaling and if you don't, you think you've communicated it because it's technically out of you, but then if you're not communicating it beyond the page, then it's only we're doing half of the job. So the first thing that I would ask you is ask yourself what emotions are to you. The second thing that I would invite you to ask yourself is how comfortable do I feel acknowledging? So you to you, acknowledging my emotions. Number three, how comfortable do I feel expressing those emotions? Because the answer may be in those three questions. It's not that you cannot, it's the fear of vulnerability and more likely the fear of what you'll feel because it's the unknown. So when we go through change, what usually scares us the most is what we don't know. And here's when we hear what it's so out there right now, what we call auto sabotage or self sabotage.
Mhm.
It's not really that we're choosing that. It's just that, yes, we want to, going back to you guys' own goals, learning a new language, moving abroad, finding a job. If those are your goals, but you're so used to the current job that you hate, self sabotage is because finding a new job is unknown. Taking the time to apply, taking the time to look, trying out a new team, trying out a new industry, that is unknown and that's scarier in your nervous system than staying in the current job that you hate, because what you hate is what you know. So if all your life, bringing it back to your question, Renato, if all your life you've learned to not express your emotions, expressing them or getting in touch with your emotions is unknown. So you're going to have to train your nervous system that it is okay. Teach it that it is okay through mindfulness, through calm, through those 20 minutes, those 10 minutes, and by journaling, because that will be very private. It'll be very you and you. It's just between no one else is going to read that. And the more that you do it with consistency, and again, if you do those two questions every day of how do I feel today or how am I today and what do I need, that's already accessing your emotions. And that in maybe 3 months or 6 months, you're going to start seeing a huge change. And maybe you're an awesome candidate to start something like Brain Gym as well.
Right, sweet. Well, there you go, Renato. Hope it helped. So Lorena, thank you very much. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much for being with us, for joining us, for sharing, especially with us, and we really hope to have you back really soon.
I am very, very glad as always to be here. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, everyone in the team. And thank you, everyone that showed up today. I don't know if I can see everyone. I wanted to see everyone, but I can only see ourselves. I would love, if possible, um, to see everyone on their screens before I go and
Let's
maybe do
all
a
right.
video.
Let's see if you guys want to. Maybe you can go to the gallery view. And if you
Yeah.
guys want to turn your cameras on before we leave, then you'd be more than welcome to do it. I can
Yeah.
see someone trying to turn them on. You guys have the chance. There is
Hi,
April. Hi,
April.
April.
I
Good to
see
see
someone, yeah,
you.
turned on.
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
if anyone else, I can only see her video. I don't know why. I think it's because we're pinned. I don't know.
Yes, here. Let me remove
Let's see.
the
Ah,
spotlight
okay.
from
I
the
see
both
everyone
of
now.
us
Okay.
really quick. There we go. All right,
Awesome.
there's April.
Okay.
Right, sweet.
Okay. My
So
camera
thank
is
you.
not available. That's okay. I just wanted to be able to say hi. Sometimes I've done videos, but that's totally okay. Hi, April. Thank you for turning on your camera. And just wanted to put a face with some of the names and some of the participant numbers. So yeah, thank you again for being here. Thank you, Rodrigo. And hopefully I'll see you next time.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much for joining us. There you guys, I'm leaving right now the Google form so you guys can fill your information out and you will be receiving your participation certificate in a couple of hours. So you'll be receiving it on your inbox. So again, thank you so much, Lorena. Thank you to everyone on our team that joined us and that gave us all the support we needed, and especially thank you all for being with us and for taking the time to learn a little bit more. So on behalf of our Chancellor, David Stoffenmacher, we would love to thank you and wish you a great night and a good rest of the week. Hope to see you very soon. Thank you, Lorena, again. Take care.
Bye.